Once you've completed the events on Cassia, you now can enter the fire planet Razen, where you immediately land and you are met with some very creepy looking creatures named Enigmas, or Pukas in this case. After heading southeast for a bit, you'll encounter more of these creatures, and north you'll see Sorbet enter a water stream. Once you enter, you'll find yourself at Paella, a village full of pot folk. I love this game. On the left, you'll find the shop that sells some good stuff, and it's best in this shop in particular to buy some things for later. Like many deep burn tales, and pick up either a clock whistle or anti-clock whistle. You'll see for later. Then head northeast to the house and talk to Celadon for a progression. I mean, he's uniquely colored, he has to be important. Once you leave the house, Pico notices someone entering the house, and Sorbet is currently pot-napping Celadon. I mean, he has no hands, or feet, or any sort of body. He is just outplayed personally, and now it's your job to save him. Alright, so now you're in the Jalapeno Wastelands, and let's talk about the enemies you'll encounter, of course. And let's start off with the worst ones. Meet the Atomic Fire Bats. They are, in fact, bastards. They have one strategy, and that is using lava spuds and miraculously charring you, and they are fast, like faster than your whole team right now. And when you're charred, you can only move until you're uncharred, which takes a while. And yes, your whole team can basically be sitting ducks while you're bombarded with fireballs. It's worse in the back row because they hit 3 of your members potentially. They can even use Celestial Swap to power up the fire planet. They also have a close range attack called Toothy Chop, but only in the front row though. Make sure you use those Burn Tails to help you out a lot. They don't have much HP, so it's not hard to take up. Next up is the Gyclops. They have more HP than the Fire Bats, but they are slower, so a few of your members will outspeed. Their two options are an easy to block attack, or they can make their attack go up with a fighting dance. Very simple there. Next up is the Lava Lumpling. They have the exact same design as the Mudjammer on Erd. Yes, you're already running to copy-paste the enemies, I know. These guys are a little bit more deadly though. They have Lava Spuds who can do quite a bit of damage, but are slow. You should have no problem taking them out. After that is the Fire Claw. These guys are both fast and creepy, and you can nail one with a fairly strong scratch attack, or a cleave attack to lower your defense. Just tank the first hit and fight it off with a strong wind, dark, or light attack on the rebound. And finally, there's the hoodie thing. You should have zero problems with the hoodie thing. Okay, but like, they have a bomb throwing attack, but Lassie one-shots them anyways, so that's free experience. There is some good treasure to be found in the Wasteland, so pay close attention. If you head south from Paella, you'll find a small area containing some dodo shoes. If you head east, then north, you'll find a small cave containing many gummy frogs, both blue and green variety. You can grab them if you want, or you can spare them. Continue heading east for an area with a warp point and many gummy worms. Outside the cave, you'll find an area with a dwarf blocking your path, but next to the entrance is a chest that contains 1,000 bira. Heading south from here leads you to a dwarf who mentions a very scary dragon, and next to him you'll find a wakey tail. And heading down the road leads to another warp point for later. A dwarf is blocking your path for right now, but there are some good tales for safekeepings. Make sure you collect all of them because they will be important later. We're back near to the town for actual progression to begin. You'll literally find a guide pod to show you where you go, and after heading down you'll find more tales on the far left side of the plateau. Head down another level and head east, you'll find the motherload of gummy frogs, but head far right to find a weasel coat for your troubles. Head back to the rope ladder where you'll find more tails resting on the side of the lava. Then head east to see Sorbet and 2 Enigmas guarding a door, and the chest right next to them containing 1,200 bira. Oh, and make sure you save before this mini-boss, because there's a mini-boss right here. These Pukas can be quite fierce if you're not prepared. They have a standard cleave attack, which is kind of fast, and they can do quite a bit of damage. However, the spells are a lot more dangerous, especially at night, so be careful. You don't want to taste a nasty shadow dye or blood money. The best way to deal with them is to prioritize one of them with Pico, Mocha, and Dark Light Mage, and you either set up defense with Lassie or Chai. Or just go with an all-out offensive strategy on one of them. Just make sure it's daytime instead of night, otherwise you're in for a world of hurt. Just wait until the hourglass is almost empty before the battle begins, and you should have no problem taking them out. Next up, you're entering the world scene, and you have to be careful when it comes to some of these foes. First up on the list is the Gurgle Gut. This ferocious beast mostly stays in the back row with its ability, Magma Roast, which is similar to Lava Spuds but has a higher charring rate and is slightly stronger. Its other attack is called Crippling BO. No jokes about that one, it's just genuinely disgusting. This enemy is slow and has quite a lot of chances to be taken out, so don't go easy on it. Next enemy is the Ember Jackal. This monster is very fast and has 2 attacks, a simple bite move and a chomp move that lowers your defenses. Try your best to survive and hopefully you take him out before your jackal food. Then you have the Kabong. These guys are slow and they hit like a truck. They also have a crushing attack and high defense and spirit, though they only have 80 HP, so it's not much of a threat. Finally, we have the Permalava, and if that sounds familiar, it's the Permafrost, and yes, it has a low encounter rate, and appears in this room only. Similarly, it has a level 1 elemental move and lava spuds, and a yell attack. But let's hear this beast's majestic mating call. Beautiful. Okay, this place is extremely linear, but it contains a few more treasures. Before you do anything, there's an HP pot for free sugar stars, and an MP pot right next to it to restore your MP. On the far right of the room is a set of 3 gummy worm holes and 2 chests containing 1800 bira and a putty pea. Heading north, then east, then south leads to a little alcove with a chest that contains a platinum ring. Going west, then north, then east leads you in the right direction up the road. For some reason there's another warp point here, even though there's like 1 more down 2 exits down south, but if you want it, feel free to get it. Head south past down across the bridge. On the outside you'll find more tails sitting next to the lava. Heading west to the left entrance leads you to a series of short corridors onto the outside with even more tails on the outside. If you use the map you can pinpoint where the right treasure room is. The treasure in the middle, with the upside down U-shaped room, that just brings you up to a constant loop. In the treasure room you'll find the oven mitts containing a putty pea. I should mention that this whole mini section contains lots of gummy worm holes, so if you are good at timing these gummy world captures, there's the sanctuary then. From the original Briggs exit, you head east, then north to find a cave with even more tails, and worms, and a chest containing a putty pea. And then on the outside, you'll find a chest containing 10 bangberries, and the bridge with another warp point to the official entrance to the Shish Kebab Cavern dungeon. Okay, so welcome to the Shish Kebab Caverns, where your first introduction to Rogan Joss, a strange fellow who happens to be the master of the ancient art of yogurt, which is controlling your own body in mysterious ways, which includes serving stuff like this. But you'll find out this place is a prison held by the police chief, so it's your job to free the prisoners, including the likes of Detective Mangyet and Farna. But let's talk again about the enemies here, starting with the Cuckoo Klaxon. These guys are security robots essentially, and although it can attack you with some pigeon launchers and some exploding puff, their main goal is to alert the Major and request for backup. Introducing the Majors. These guys have 2 attacks, a tranquilizing gun, and a punishing beam. Very simple attacks, although they have quite a lot of backup. They aren't the most deadly creatures compared to the outside. Next up is the Foul Fly. These pesky pests are very quick and can hit you with a sneaky foul hand slap that causes dizziness. They have little HPs, so make sure you take care of them just like the fire bats outside. Then we have the Mechanics. These machines stay in the back row and shoot out bomb launchers that hits the whole team. They also have Magma Roast, so watch out for that too. Somehow for how big it looks, it doesn't have that much HP, so try to take it out as quickly as possible and make sure it's your top priority. Finally, is probably the most interesting enemy so far, the Swirly. These hotheads have a tornado dance attack, but that's not what's unique about them. They respond to damage given over time. So as you can see here, they have different forms depending how many times you hit them. And when they have max rage, he'll do a burst attack that can actually burn you, and does a lot of damage. And also ends the fight prematurely if it's the last enemy on the field. So make sure you take them out quickly, and they only spawn on the bottom floor too. Okay, so progression time. Once again, your route is mostly a series of angles and straight corridors, so hopefully you can figure it out quickly. For treasures here, you have a treasure chest containing 10 bangberries next to detective prison bills. Heading south out of the first area will lead you to a fork in the road. Heading left, you will find 10 more bangberries up top, and heading right up top is a chest that contains lizard mail. Then head south for more progress. Going down the stairs will find you with a couple more tails and potentially more gummy worms, with a long corridor. Heading south of that road brings you to another fork in the road. On the far right gives you 12 bangberries, and the middle path gives you 10 green frogs. Going down to the bottom floor is getting you close to the exit, but if you go into the first entrance next to the gummy worms, through the middle and continue heading straight, you'll find a room with a red and yellow gummy worms and a chest containing a putty pea. Right in front of the middle entrance is an HP pot and an MP pot to head up and head forward. And don't forget about your sugar stars. Now you see two areas on the left and right. You want to head on the left side if you're a light mage, and the right side if you're a dark mage, and this is where the boss trigger is. Now before you enter here, make sure you save because this boss is pretty difficult. Before talking to Sorbet, come equipped with lots of gummy frogs and worms, and at least one clock whistle or anti-clock whistle. And make sure your team is set up like this specifically. Make sure Lass is on either left or right side on the front row, and depending on your position, if the whistle goes off. So this one if you were using a clock whistle, and this position if you're using an anti-clock whistle. If you're all set and prepared, step forward and meet Celadon and Sorbet, where she immediately teleports away. But before any other action can be thought of, 3 Space Police troops show up and ambush you. These next fights are going to be endurance challenges, so try your best. The policemen here have a couple different attacks. Stomping Feet, a simple kicking attack that can be fairly easy to block, and Punishing Beam, a ray of light that show up in the front row, and you have to be quick to block this one. Your main strategy here is to take them out with strong move, but not to waste your MP. They don't do that much damage around level 22, which should be your preferred level that you're at. Once you defeat them all, guess what happens? No, really guess. 3 more show up and now you have to beat 6 of them on the same health and MP. This time, the 2 in the back row can use Punishing Bob to damage everyone, so prioritize them first and leave the front row until all the back row is defeated. Now do the same strategy like I did before with the Pirate Otters from all the way back on Cassia. Leave a single policeman left to start to heal up. Use a clock whistle or anti-clock whistle to bring Lassie to the front row, and Chide to the back row. Heal up everyone's MP and make sure the Wind Planet is powered up. As you can tell, you'll be facing as an Earth enemy. If you want, you can also use Celestial Swap to power up the Fire Planet as well, or wait when it's light or dark out to power up your character. Once you defeat them, their leader shows up, Yellow Mudflap, along with his nasty stench. Oh, and 2 more troops show up alongside him, but it's just their personal save. Boss fight time! The fight with Mudflap can either be an easy one or an obnoxious one, and it all depends on his first attack. He can either hit you with a blinding stench or a sickening stench, which attacks everyone, including his henchmen. If he uses blinding stench, you'll be blind, then it'll be pretty easy, considering blindness only affects your physical attacks, and you're mostly going to be using magic the whole time. If you stay blind, you'll be immune to all the other status effects. However, if he uses sickening stench, then you're going to be a lot more planning done. If you have any defrosting tails, which you cannot buy mind you have to find them in the overworld. Use one on Lassie, and if Lassie isn't sick, use one on Pico, or use one on the Dark Protagonist, or the Light Protagonist. Chai should be the one using tail support no matter what, because he's probably the fastest one in your party so far. You can't use magic while you're sick, so make sure you use the tail immediately. His other attack is Bossy Push, an attack where only one person is hit, but can do a lot of damage. If you don't want him to use this move a lot, then attack the Bug Privates. They only have 4,000 HP, and this is why having Dark in the front row is very vital. Also, the Bug Pirates will show if they can't use a move if they are crouching down. This process of setting up takes a bit of time, so take them out. Other than that, you have no rushing to worry about during this fight, so power up the planets and go nuts. Lassie's main job is using Falcon Dive to do a ton of damage on Mudflap. Pico and the protagonist should also focus on the Buck Privates, and Chai and Mocha are used for support. Mocha can also be used for offense as well. If there's no need for any support, then just go out with Boulder Patches and Briar Patches. Just be warned, you don't have an instant access to Healing Wing with support with Lassie due to her constantly attacking, so be careful during this fight. Once you defeat the boss, you attain the pig-headed helmet for some useful equipment for Mocha, and the Space Police just call it a day and Mudflat leases jail cell keys for Rogue and Josh to pick up. Are you, sure you just want to be picking those up? I'm gonna look at the man, if you wanted to call him that. Now you're blocked at the door with either a light symbol if you're a light mage, and a dark symbol if you're a dark mage. It shouldn't be too hard to figure out what to do here, just use the corresponding magic in the menu to open the door right up. Now you've entered the stone stage with everyone is here. Mostly just pirates and enigmas, but mostly everyone. They don't give you anything, they're just here to waste time, so head forward towards the stone stage. And then everything goes bad, like really quickly. So basically Sorbet stole the magic pot to defend against Kale's magic, and we're the ones who managed to screw it up? We would have been here quicker if you didn't waste our time, girly. Anyway, story progression about the light planet, and story progression about the police, and bada bing, bada boom. You have Sorbet in your party. So what can she do? So Sorbet is a very interesting case when it comes to power level. She's definitely the most balanced in terms of speed, power, and defense, and not excelling in any of those traits. And having the ability to finally deal with those pesky fire enemies is nice now, and you can cut off bosses' magic attacks if you're lucky. She has good moves overall, like the healing move that heals off status and a barrier against magic attacks. But this is where the problem arises. If you use any of the 3 other attacks in the back row, it'll randomly select a target similar to dark magic. But if you're in the front row, you can choose who you go for, but your support magic won't be as useful. I personally stick her in the back row for support, just in case of some nasty magic. But overall, she's pretty neutral. She doesn't excel in anything, but she isn't bad at the things she does. You can now use her magic to get free gummy worms without battling, so that's always a bonus.